Thank you, Dr. Balkis, for your presentation, linking the environmental aspect and impact on health and social aspect. And now we would like to invite Engineer Abdullah Al-Ma'touq. Engineer Abdullah Al-Ma'touq is from Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research, Water Resources Division. And his presentation is about removal of hazardous waste of ammonia and hydrogen sulfide from polluted water by forced jet air injection. Please, Mr. Ma'touq, you can introduce yourself in a few minutes, and the floor is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. First of all, Abdullah Al-Ma'touq is he has some conditions. He couldn't come, so I came with some. My name is Mshari Khaja. I'm a civil engineer. I'm working in Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research. Today, inshallah, I will present our paper, which is removal of reduced gas from wastewater utilizing confined and unconfined plunging jet air reactors, a bench scale study. Ammonia and hydrogen sulfide gases in wastewater. Ammonia and hydrogen sulfide are common gases which affect badly on human health. These gases are found in sewer system and wastewater treatment plant. Stripping by air bubbles is often used to remove these gases from wastewater. This stripping by air bubbles is more effective and very low cost system. The objective of this study is to test the effectiveness of jet air injection into polluted water to remove or reduce the ammonia and hydrogen sulfide gases from the unconfined and confined environments, and also to test on gas-laden wastewater from sludge digester of an operating wastewater treatment plant in Kuwait. This is our reactor, as you can see. As you can see in the bottom, you can see the pump. And here in the bundle, you can see the rota meter, which measures the flow. And here in the top, the air inlet with the pipe diameter 2 millimeter. And our reactor is a rectangular, which made of plastic material with 70 centimeter height. And 40 centimeter width and depth. Jet air applied at two modes, confined and unconfined. The difference between confined and unconfined system, the confined system, the penetration depth is smaller than the confined system. And the other thing is the bubbles contact time with the liquid is shorter in unconfined system than the confined system. In total, 111 samples were tested, 54 samples for confined and 57 for unconfined. 8 parameters were measured daily: wastewater volume, pH, DO, NO3, NO2, TN, COD and BOD. Outcomes recorded following test: the best aeration time, effect of pH on ammonia and hydrogen sulfide reduction, effect of dissolved oxygen on ammonia and hydrogen sulfide reduction, effect of volume and effect of volume on ammonia and hydrogen sulfide reduction, confined and unconfined jet effect of for each of the above factors. I'll talk in details in next slides. Best aeration time. When we did the test, we found the best time is 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the hydrogen sulfide is completely exhausted, while for ammonia gas, after 5 minutes, it will reach steady state. So we choose the 15 minutes is the best aeration time because, as I mentioned, in 15 minutes, the hydrogen sulfide is completely exhausted, and after 5 minutes for ammonia, it will remain steady state. So we choose the 15 minutes. Effect of pH on ammonia and hydrogen reduction. For the ammonia, the pink one is for unconfined, the blue one is confined. For the confined, as long as we increase the pH, the reduction will increase. While for the confined, there is no effect actually because sometimes it's increasing, sometimes it's decreasing. While for the hydrogen sulfide, both system is not affected because also is increasing and sometimes decreasing. Effect of dissolved oxygen on ammonia and hydrogen sulfide reduction. For the ammonia reduction, when we increase the dissolved oxygen for the confined system, the reduction will decrease, while the unconfined is erratic effect. And for the hydrogen sulfide, it is a minimal effect for the unconfined. As you can see, straight line, no effect actually. And for confined system, as long as we increase the dissolved oxygen, the reduction will increase. Effect of reactor volume on ammonia and hydrogen sulfide. For the confined, as long as we increase the volume of the reactor, the reduction will decrease. While for the unconfined, if we increase the volume reactor, the reduction will increase. And for the hydrogen sulfide reduction, as you can see, for the unconfined, it's almost a straight line, so no effect. And for the confined, as long as we increase the volume reactor, the reduction will increase. Air injection rate per volume versus ammonia reduction. As long as we also increase the air injection rate, we get increasing in reduction. And the best air injection rate was 0.033 meter cube of air per meter cube of water per minute. In conclusion, maximum of 60% reduction of ammonia could be achieved by jet air stripping, and for hydrogen sulfide is almost 100%. And as I mentioned in previous slide, the best air ejection rate was found to be 0.033 meter cube of air per meter cube of water per minute for both confined and unconfined cases. The most sensitive factors in the removal of ammonia gas from water are pH and air ejection rate per volume. And also for the hydrogen sulfide, also the same factors, the pH and air injection rate. And thanks.
Engineer Mashari, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm calling now Professor Mohammed Nuruddin. Is he there? Okay, so there is no show. And now I'm calling Mr. Johannes Lavan. He's from Texas A&M University at Qatar. And can you put that? Mr. Lavan is a research associate in the chemical engineering department at Texas A&M University at Qatar. And his research focuses is the numerical and mathematical simulation of the fluid dynamics and reactive transport. His presentation will be around coupling of water and atmosphere reactive transport simulations, the new 3D smart model. Mr. Ravan, the floor is yours.
I would like to thank the organizers of the Gulf Water Conference for giving me the opportunity to present our research work. Coupling of water and atmosphere reactive transport simulations, the new 3D SMART model. 3D SMART stands for 3D simulation of marine and atmospheric reactive transport. This is one of the first presentations which reports on the new 3D SMART model, and the presentation contains an overview of the general concept of coupling sea and atmosphere simulation, boundary conditions used, employed meshing, other utilized simulations like Fluent, one demonstrator for a coupled sea and atmosphere simulation, and conclusions and prerequisites for future coupled sea and atmosphere simulations. This scheme shows how different simulations have been intertwined to yield a coupling of oceanic simulation and atmosphere simulation. In the center is one joint reactive transport model, here termed water and air quality model, which receives flow field information from one hydrodynamic model, which is covering the oceanic part, and one atmospheric model. Both hydrodynamic model and atmospheric model utilize the same horizontal unstructured triangle mesh, which we will see in a later slide, which has been generated with SMS, one meshing software, and the reactive transport model is fed with conversion models, for instance, for biocides or microorganisms, which are simulated with this species transport model. Here's an overview of the embedded boundary conditions in the new 3D SMART model, which joins reactive transport for sea and atmosphere. One of the boundary conditions is governing the interface between atmosphere and ocean, and of special importance for the purpose of coupling the two domains. This is important in case of volatilization. For instance, some biocides are volatile, evaporating from the sea into the atmosphere, and to simulate accurately the distribution in the Arabian Gulf, then prerequisites to also have concentration distribution information for the near-surface atmospheric layers. Open boundary conditions, no-flux boundary conditions, and such interfacial boundary conditions have been embedded in the 3D SMART model. This slide shows the mentioned horizontal unstructured triangle mesh. It is used for both atmospheric simulation and sea simulation. It appears here two-dimensional. The simulations are indeed three-dimensional. Different layers of this unstructured triangle mesh are stacked above each other and then constitute one three-dimensional mesh, as it is visible in this slide. This slide shows one channel which has been approximated, meshed with horizontally an unstructured mesh and vertically with several layers. These layers can adapt to topographical changes. Two different types, sigma coordinates and z coordinates, can be employed, which either are terrain following or use a cell active-inactive scheme to adapt topographical changes. Here is one demonstrator showing a joint sea atmosphere simulation, one can see in the left upper picture how a pollutant plume is heading southwards, and one can see in the other pictures how the pollutant plume is heading more eastward depending on the currents in the Arabian Gulf. And one can recognize the coupling of the two domains by having a certain plume element heading southwards as well as eastward in the right upper picture. This reactive transport model is receiving, as mentioned at the slide for the scheme, flow field data from atmospheric simulation as well as in the oceanic simulation. So such a flow field is simulated, for instance, with fluent, and here depicted with vector field, and then fed into the 3D smart model. Here is one slide showing a plume emanating from an assumed natural gas spill. Such a scenario would also be an application for a joint sea atmosphere simulation. The methane would spill into the atmosphere but also be dissolved in the water, and then experiencing a backcoupling between upper sea layer and lower atmosphere layer. The shown demonstrator, the numerical demonstrator, gave us some initial experience to define the prerequisites which are necessary to carry out such joint simulations. We will use an Arabian Gulf model to have oceanic flow field information available, and further prerequisites identified are that this Arabian Gulf model needs to be established, needs to be calibrated to tidal measurements and current measurements, as well as the finding that these three simulations, the oceanic simulation, the atmosphere simulation, and the joint reactive transport simulation, need to run on the same supercomputer to accommodate the substantial information exchange between the three simulations, especially the flow field informations. In general, we found that these joint simulations are possible, and that scenarios such as the mentioned natural gas spill can be simulated. I would be glad to receive questions.
Thank you, Mr. Juan, for your presentation. Thank you. And now we would like to invite the keynote speaker to the stage to receive any questions to be raised by the participants and attendees.
Hey, Jonathan, just sit there. Want to call the keynote speakers and speakers, please, to the floor so they can answer the questions. It's nice to meet each other in these meetings.
Dr.